Come, let us fix our eyes on Jesus. This is Unpopular Theology, episode 74. Today I'm going to be doing the next installment of the online Catechism with the First Commandment. Before we get started, go ahead and hit the like button, go ahead and subscribe, go over to our Facebook page, like us over there, post new content there every Friday and at the beginning of each month and at the end of each month. And with that being said, I was supposed to be in Minnesota today. Both my parents got COVID, so I am in Wisconsin. And I am not thrilled. And this will play a little bit into my rant today. So, before I go further, fearing, loving, and trusting in God, this is Unpopular Theology. So, what is the first commandment? You shall have no other gods before me. What does this mean? We should fear, love, and trust in God above all things. That is from Luther's Small Catechism. So in other words, whatever you fear, love, and trust in the most is your God. In the words of the White Horse Inn, God does not believe in atheists. So even the most hardened atheist has a God. Even the most devout Christian does not keep the first commandment perfectly. And that is a frustrating thing. And it's something that we deal with living in this sinful world. So, how can there be other gods? Well, you can find that which you fear, love, and trust in the most. Is it your job? Is it your sports team? Is it your political affiliation, which I'm finding is a very big thing? Another way of putting it is, where do you get your identity, security, and meaning? Ism. I believe it was Robert Kolb, prof at Concordia, St. Louis, who talked about that. Where do you get your identity, security, and meaning? Do you get that from your job, from your sports team, whatnot? If you do, then it's a god. Your ultimate, I should say, ultimate in all of that. Or do you get it from God himself? And the other way is, we ourselves, as human beings, as sinful human beings, we naturally want to be God. It goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden, when Satan told Eve, "You shall be as God, knowing good from evil." The real temptation there is, you shall be as God. The way that my Hebrew prof likes to describe it is like the advertisement for, I don't know what all, where, at the beginning it's like, "You shall be as God," and then fine print, knowing good from evil. That is really what the temptation is. But ever since that day, we humans have always tried to be God. If you don't believe me, just look at the world around us. We try to impose our will on everybody. We pout if we don't get our way. Yeah, we naturally want to be our own gods. So that is the identity. So that is the big thing. Another thing, and this is probably the one thing that'll get me kicked off of YouTube. There's been a growing movement since the Enlightenment, so it's fairly old, that some profs at Concordia, Wisconsin here have called Scientism. Now, what is Scientism? Scientism is, well, like I said, it's really a movement. And what it is it basically says science can answer all our questions. Trust the science, it has the answers. And it kind of started to develop in the Enlightenment. Went a little further. In the 20th century, evolution in the late 1800s really helped it go farther. 20th century starts to dominate a little more, and then 2 years ago with COVID-19, it really took off. What is scientism? So yeah, it's the belief that that science is the answer to everything. So, in other words, in scientism, you fear, love, and trust science above all things. That's really what you do. You find your identity and whether the science works. You find your security and can science solve it? And you find your meaning in trying to find the answers. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't an anti-science lecture. Science is a very good thing. We've been able to cure diseases with science. We have been able to, well, I couldn't do this video without science. So science is a very good thing. But science is not the be-all, end-all of everything. Science cannot answer moral questions. So science can tell you that something is possible, but it won't necessarily tell you if something is moral. So the example would be killing someone. Yeah, it is possible to kill someone. Very possible. But it's not moral. But science won't tell you it's not moral. And so that leads me into the main lecture that I have for this whole thing. And that is on the modern scientism led by Dr. Anthony Fauci. And this is probably what gets me kicked off of YouTube. The thing is that science can tell us that we can make a vaccine for COVID. Science can tell us that we can make a vaccine. Science can tell us that it will slow the spread. Science can tell us that isolating from other people will stop the spread of COVID. However, science won't tell us whether taking the vaccine, hiding our faces from people, and isolating from people is moral and good for the person. Well, I guess mental health studies have told us no, it's not. But then science doesn't tell us that other people's mental health should matter to us. Science can't do that. And please hear me out. I am not saying you should or should not get the vaccine here. What I am saying is that that people who do not want to get the vaccine should not have to get the vaccine. People who want to, go right ahead. But there are people who have serious moral questions on this. And in this country, we do have freedom of religion. So, the thing is that because we have freedom of religion in this country, which is a very good thing, I am glad we do. Because trust me, there is no way Lutheranism is ever becoming the state religion in America. So I appreciate this whole religious freedom thing. If we let it go there, where does it end to get rid of religious freedom? Seriously. If we sit there and tell people that they have to get the vaccine when they don't want to, where does it stop? Pretty soon. And this is, yes, I realize this is a slippery slope argument, but that's because I realize that it is a slippery slope. We had people in the last election in the Democratic primary calling for the revocation of tax exemption status from churches that do not support gay marriage. So these are real concerns that people realize. So that's the big thing. We've been told to trust the science, trust all this. And to the point where it's dogmatically said, it's dogmatically regurgitated, it is a creed, is what it essentially is. So that is how our society has turned science into a religion, whether it knows it or not. Yeah, so what do? Well, we try to fear, love, and trust in God the best. We realize that we poor, miserable sinners cannot do that. So as Christians, we do pray that God, the Holy Spirit, would give us grace to follow His will and to obey His command, and so that we could fear, love, and trust in God above all things. So, that wraps it up for this week. Next week, I will be talking about... next week, I will be talking about... I don't know what I'm going to be talking about, but it will be my Viva La Reformation special. So until next week, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus.